Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyoti Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyoti Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyoti Aravinda Jyoti Aravinda Jyoti Aravinda. Pen and paper ready. Okay, so let's say that I am somebody who's never seen a caterpillar before, and I see a caterpillar, and suppose I'm one of those who gets creeped out by a caterpillar, finds it ugly, feels it shouldn't be there, it's dirtying my house or wherever it's crawling on, and I see no point in the existence of the caterpillar, right? But suppose I'm somebody who's blessed with Trikal Drishti, I can see into the past and future. I can look at the caterpillar and see the butterfly to come. And because I can see the butterfly to come, the caterpillar is not ugly, it's beauty in the making. So Sri Aurobindo always says that in God's providence there is no evil, there is just good or good in the making. And this good is often invisible to our seeing because our mind is very caught up in our own concepts and conditionings of good and bad. But there is a mantra in the Upanishad, Om Bhadram Karne Bhi, Karna is your ears, Bhi is with. So with my ears, let me receive every news of life as Bhadram. Bhadram is auspicious, good, the field of eternal good. So it's a prayer that even confronted with the most terrifying seeming ugly, give me the inner vision to see the beauty in it or the beauty that is to come. Okay, so that's Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha. Bhadram Pashyemaksha, Pashya is to see, Aksha is eyes. Bhirya Jatraha, with my eyes, let me see every unfolding of life as good, auspicious and beautiful. So let's start with this mantra. I'll repeat each line twice, second time with me. It's a very beautiful mantra. Do learn it up and use it. Bhadram karnebi shrunuyama deva. Everyone. Bhadram karnebi shrunuyama deva. Bhadram pashyemaksha भिर्यजत्राः Bhadram pashimakshbhiryajtraha. So all of us together. Om Bhadram karnebhi shrunuyama Bhadram pashimakshbhiryajtraha. And just hold the word Bhadram in your heart as you bring to mind that particular person, event, circumstance which your mind right now cannot accept as it could any way serve my purposes. But what the mind can't accept, the heart always can. Because the heart is the seat of wisdom, not the mind. So drop down to your heart, and as you think of that event or situation, just exhale, articulating Bhadram in your heart, and see if you feel a softening towards it. And then slowly open your eyes. So, now we come to our PDF, Words of Sri Aurobindo from the Synthesis of Yoga. Jagat Guru, or the inner guide. It transforms the lower existence into a reflection of that which it contemplates. So Sri Aurobindo says the Guru in integral yoga is the Jagat Guru seated in the heart of every living being, unfolding the Veda from within. So that Guru transforms the lower existence into a reflection of that which it contemplates. By the inpouring of his own influence and presence into us, he enables the individual being to attain to identity with the universal and transcendent. The full recognition of this inner guide as the enjoyer and goal of all sacrifice and effort is of the utmost importance. And this is a jewel, this sentence in Synthesis of Yoga. An eternal perfection is molding us into its image. So very beautiful. There is an eternal perfection which is God, which is constantly molding us into its own image. And this molding follows a line of intelligence which escapes our thinking. Because it's, Sri Aurobindo says that the mother's action in the universe is so swift that even the most intelligent mind just cannot understand it. So this eternal perfection is molding us into its image, and that molding creates various circumstances which we will call good and bad, but through all those circumstances an eternal perfection is molding us into its image. Further, Sri Aurobindo says, the first necessity is to dissolve that central faith and vision in the mind which concentrate on its own development and satisfaction and interests in the old externalized order of things. It is imperative to exchange this surface orientation for the deeper faith and vision which sees only the divine and seek only after the divine. The next, so he's saying that in our surface being we have a central faith and vision that is concentrating on developing our desires, our ambitions. We have a preconceived notion of how we should arrange circumstances in our life to be happy. But Sri Aurobindo says we have to give up that notion. It is imperative to change the surface orientation for the deeper faith and vision which see only the divine. Seek only the divine, not the fulfillment of desires, but seek only the divine. Now, of course, this is work in progress. It doesn't happen immediately. We can't expect ourselves to immediately have a transformed vital which is seeking only the divine. We are in the field of desires, but beautiful to keep this goal always in mind, that eventually we want to create an orientation which sees only the divine and seeks only the divine. The next need is to compel all our lower being to pay homage to this new faith and greater vision. All our nature must make an integral surrender. It must offer itself in every part and every movement to that which seems to the unregenerated sense mind so much less real than the material world and its objects. So, our nature must make an integral surrender. It must offer itself in every part to that which seems to us less real than the material world and its objects. So, maybe when we are at the Samadhi or Matri Mandir or deeply with ourselves, Mother becomes so beautifully real to us. But normally when we are interacting with life and with people, that life and people seem so much more real to us than Mother. No, Mother is some far off. I mean, she's there, but she's not real to us in that moment. So Sri Aurobindo is saying that we have to change, so we surrender to that which may seem less real to us than the surrounding worlds. And we also have to change to an extent that that is more real to us than, like Ramakrishna, we know that when Swami Vivekananda, he always had a burning question, and whichever sage he would meet, he would ask, "Sir, have you seen God?" So when he met his guru Ramakrishna Paramahansa for the first time, he went and straight away asked him, "Sir, have you seen God?" And Ramakrishna, who was a God realized saint, said, "Yes, I have seen God, and I see him as more real than I see you." So to the sages, this world is not real. They can see what it is, just an illusion blinking in and out of existence. To them, the reality behind is more real. So Sri Aurobindo says we have to slowly transform ourselves till that reality is more real to us than what we are perceiving with our senses. This is no easy task, for everything in the world follows the fixed habit which is to it a law and resists a radical change. And no change can be more radical than the revolution attempted in the integral yoga. Everything in us has constantly to be called back to the central faith and will and vision. Every thought and impulse has to be reminded in the language of the Upanishad that that is the divine Brahma and not this which men here adore. Every vital fiber has to be persuaded to accept an entire renunciation of all that hitherto represented to it its own existence. Mind has to cease to be mind and become brilliant with something beyond it. Life has to change into a thing vast and calm and intense and powerful that can no longer recognize its old, blind, eager, narrow self of petty impulse and desire. Even the body has to submit to a mutation and be no longer the clamorous animal or the impeding clod it is now, but become instead a conscious servant and radiant instrument and living form of the Spirit. Man, in his effort at self-transcendence, Sri Aurobindo says, so in his effort towards this change, he has to seize on some one spring or some powerful leverage in the complicated machine that his nature is. This spring or lever he touches in preference to others and uses it to set the machine in motion towards the end that he has in view. As he can use his thinking mind and will to restrain and correct his life impulses, so too he can bring in the action of a still higher luminous mentality aided by the deeper soul in him, the psychic being, and superseded by these greater and purer motive powers, the domination of the vital sensational force that we call desire. So what he's saying in simple words is that we can't make this change. What is this change to make this sense perception less real than the divine reality that is veiled by it? To see the divine everywhere and to live for the divine rather than for the fulfillment of desire. So he's saying, to do this, you have to find some leverage. A lever is a machine that makes a difficult task easy. So what is that mechanism in us that can make this difficult task easy? Sri Aurobindo says there are two levers, the deeper heart, the psychic being, and the higher wisdom. So either by connecting to the deeper heart or calling down the force from above, and allowing this to work to transform us. We can't think out this transformation. Thoughts can help you understand it, but you will not be able to live it till you open to the mother's force either in your heart or over the head. These are the two powerful levers we have, and let that force work in you and bring about these changes. Because if you see everything as God, then you live the mantra of Bhadram, right? You can never ever feel threatened by anything because you're truly seeing everything as God. Our one objective must be the divine himself, to whom knowingly or unknowingly something always aspires in our secret nature. There must be a large, many-sided yet single concentration of the thought on the idea, the perception, the vision, the awakening touch, the soul's realization of the one divine. There must be a flaming concentration of the heart on the seeking of the all and eternal. And once we have found him, a deep plunging and immersion in the possession and ecstasy of the all beautiful. There must be a strong and immovable concentration of the will on the attainment and fulfillment of all that the divine is, and a free and plastic opening of it to all that he intends to manifest in us. This is the triple way of yoga. So what are the three ways? One is there must be a large, many-sided yet single concentration of thought on the idea, the perception, the vision, the awakening touch of the divine. So for example, if you're concentrating in the heart on the mother and you're thinking about the mother, so it's a many-sided single concentration of thought on the divine. There must be a flaming concentration of the heart on the seeking of the all and the eternal. So you concentrate in the heart and focus on mother not just as an image in your heart, but as a presence at the heart of everything. Yeah? So you concentrate. Sri Aurobindo has often said that a beautiful idea to contemplate during your meditation is the thought that all is God. So that can be another thing. Or a deep plunging and immersion into the possession and ecstasy of the all beautiful. That's the second. Third, there must be a strong and immovable concentration of the will on the attainment and fulfillment of all that the divine is. So you have to use your willpower. So one is the way of bhakti, you concentrate with love on mother in your heart. Second is the way of Gyan, to see the mother everywhere, to know that this whole universe is the body of the mother. Third is the way of karma, to concentrate the will in offering all you do, all your works to the divine. And this is the triple way of the yoga. Now Sri Aurobindo says that, I started the class by saying that for us, we only see a caterpillar, we can't see a butterfly. But that's not entirely correct. Our mind's vision can only see a caterpillar, but if you concentrate in the heart, Sri Aurobindo uses a beautiful word called Kalyan Shraddha. Kalyan is goodness, Shraddha is faith. Faith in the goodness of existence. And he says nobody needs to teach you that faith. If you quieten your mind and go into your heart already, the fabric of your heart is Kalyan Shraddha. In the Gita, it said, Shraddha Mayoham Purusha. The Purusha, the inner witness, the very fabric of that Purusha is faith. Faith in the goodness of life. So this is a little bit on Kalyan Shraddha. An equal heart is needed for perfection, but not only a passive equality, there must be a sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences, a faith and will that can turn the poisons of the world into nectar. See the happier spiritual intention behind adversity. So beautiful. There must be a sense of that all the time I must hold in myself a sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences. Even when I'm going through something terrible, with a little practice, I always have a sense, like a background consciousness, a sense of a divine power making for good behind all experiences. A faith and will that can turn the poisons of the world into nectar. See the happier spiritual intention behind adversity. The mystery of love behind suffering. The flower of divine strength and joy in the seed of pain. The mother says the very best always happens. The very best happens always to those who have put their entire trust in the divine and divine alone. People do not know how important is faith, how faith is a miracle, a creator of miracles. If you expect at every moment to be lifted up and pulled towards the divine, He will come and lift you, and He will be there quite close, closer, ever closer. Now these are Sri Aurobindo's words on good and evil. To form higher and higher temporary standards as long as they are needed is to serve the divine in His world march. To erect rigidly an absolute standard is to attempt the erection of a barrier against the eternal waters in their outflow. So what he's saying in simple terms is that to live, I need to define for myself certain conditions, certain parameters of emotion, of thought, what is good for me, what is not good for me. He's saying it's necessary. But to make those parameters absolutes and think that they are eternal parameters, that's not correct. Because Sri Aurobindo says that a sin is a good that has outlived its time. How brilliant! Every evil or a sin is a good that has outlived its time. So if something works for me today and out of rigidity I keep trying to impose it, when it no longer serves my purposes, that's when a good becomes an evil. A common example is the sati, in the time of the Mughal invasion, it was legitimate. I mean, if they didn't commit suicide and burn themselves, the widows of the Rajput kings, they'd fall into a fate worse than death in the hands of the Mughals. So it was sensible to do that. But to make it a ritual and continue with it now when there are no Mughals invading, it becomes an evil. So we also have to think for ourselves. There are so many things which served our purposes at one time. But out of habit, if I just keep continuing them, then that same good becomes an evil. Take rituals for example. At some point it may have been good for me to do the rituals. But if they become empty for me now and I'm just continuing out of habit, it becomes a thing out of its place. And in my emotional being also, maybe it was at some point for my vital development, it was important for me to be conservative. But at this moment in time when I'm a different being, maybe it serves my greater good to break those traditions and explore the world in freedom. So that's what Sri Aurobindo is saying here. Ashumi? Once the nature-bound soul realizes this truth, it is delivered from the duality of good and evil. For good is all that helps the individual and world towards their divine fullness, and evil is all that retards or breaks up that increasing perfection. But since the perfection is progressive evolution in time, good and evil are also shifting quantities and change from time to time their meaning and value. In the end, where the human closes and the divine commences, where the mental disappears into the supramental consciousness and the finite precipitates itself into the infinite, all evil disappears into a transcendent divine good, which becomes universal on every plane of consciousness that it touches. Now these are beautiful words from Elif Shafak's 40 Rules of Love. Patience does not mean to passively endure. You're going through something terrible and you are being asked to be patient. But Elif Shafak says, patience does not mean to passively endure. It means to be far-sighted enough to trust the end result of a process. So patience doesn't mean grit my teeth and just wait for it to get over. That's not patience. Patience is to be far-sighted enough to trust the end result of a process. What does patience mean? It means to look at the thorn and see the rose, to look at the night and see the dawn. What I said, to look at the caterpillar and see the butterfly. Impatience means to be so short-sighted as to not be able to see the outcome. The lovers of God never run out of patience, for they know that time is needed for the crescent moon to become full. So I'm reading it again. Patience does not mean to passively endure. It means to be far-sighted enough to trust the end result of a process. What does patience mean? It means to look at the thorn and see the rose, to look at the night and see the dawn. Impatience means to be so short-sighted as to not be able to see the outcome. The lovers of God never run out of patience, for they know that time is needed for the crescent moon to become full. The moon is a crescent. So if I didn't know about the lunar cycle and I was attached to the moon, I would keep crying, the moon is gone. But if I'm patient and I wait, I'll see how behind the veil of my vision, the moon is growing till it will become full moon again. The new moon day metaphorically is anything in our life which we feel is lacking, and in that area I am unhappy because the moon is missing. But the moon is never missing, it's already there, but because of the play of the light, to my vision, it seems to be missing. But it's happening. So for everything, Sri Aurobindo says, beautiful to have a sense that God is working it out, to be patient, to know that eventually it will come right. I have to just wait for the season to change, for the moon cycle to be full, and the full moon will come again. Further, from 40 Rules of Love, neither a drop of kindness nor a speck of evil, neither a drop of kindness nor a speck of evil will remain unreciprocated. Fear not the plots, deceptions, or tricks of other people. If somebody is setting a trap, remember, so is God. He is the biggest plotter. Not even a leaf stirs outside God's knowledge. Simply and fully believe in that. Whatever God does, He does beautifully. So sometimes we feel unhappy because we feel people have ill intention towards us. They are trying to pull us down. Something's wrong. They are plotting against us. But so beautifully it said, fear not the plots, deceptions, or tricks of other people. If somebody is setting a trap, remember, so is God. He is the biggest plotter. Not even a leaf stirs outside God's knowledge. So this mother who I'm seeing in my heart, she's at the heart of everything in creation. And she's the Antaryami, the inner controller. She's controlling every mind, everything. So we are blaming the person for behaving like that with us. But somewhere the person's nature is being controlled by mother to be the way it is. Of course, it's distorted by humans' ignorance. I'm not saying that in the universal play, the divine will is fulfilled undistorted. But each nature is fulfilling the divine will with its own distortions maybe, but it's being fulfilled. So can I really swallow the pill that that person who may be really harrowing me is being also controlled by the mother? Either we believe that she is the Antaryami or the inner controller, or she is not. Or if she is not controlling that person, I'm saying the person is more powerful than the mother, because only if the person is more powerful than the mother, the person can escape being controlled by her, right? Which is not possible. So the mother is using the person to be a certain way with me in the field of Bhadram, the eternal good. We'll come to it more as the talk progresses. So it says, there is a guardian power. There are hands that save. Calm eyes divine regard the human scene. This is from Savitri. So even when I'm in the midst of really being shaken up, it's good to remember, but there is a guardian power. There are hands that save. Calm eyes divine regard the human scene. Now this very important for most of us. It's the second subtitle in our talk, the difficult person in the field of Bhadram. A person I'm having conflict or difficulty with. So these are words by M.P. Pandit, who used to be Mother's secretary. Solving problems of human relationship. How to heal a relationship which is becoming increasingly conflict-ridden. I am making a sincere effort to be friendly with the person, but is it working? In human relationships, what is important is your inner thoughts and feelings, not your outer behavior. You need not make any effort to be outwardly friendly with the person. You must try to resolve the inner sources of the conflict. Whenever sadhaks in the ashram complained to the mother of the relationship problem, she gave more or less the same discipline. So, MP Pandit's pointing out a very important thing. He's saying if you're in conflict with a person, first you'll obviously realize that you're constantly thinking negative things about the person. If that person has hurt you, you're constantly regurgitating, she did this, how could she do that, I did so much, she did, that dialogue is constantly going on in your mind. And it's not going on only in your mind. Every thought is an energy which reaches the person you're thinking of. Believe it or not, it reaches. So if you're thinking negatively about the person, you're already creating conflict. It's no use speaking sweet, kind words if in your mind you haven't released that negative thinking. So whenever you're in conflict with a person, the first step is work on yourself to release the negative thinking about the person. Because if you don't do that, it cannot get resolved outside. And the moment you come to peace about it inside you, the moment you just don't feel drawn to thinking negatively about the person, the conflict will get resolved outside. So that is the first step. Now, how do we do that? That's the big one, because the pull of the negative thinking is so much when we are hurt, angry, resentful, or fearful. So, first look into the inner causes of the conflict. Get rid of all the negative thoughts, feelings, and attitudes which create the conflict, not by struggling with it, but by a calm inner detachment and rejection. Cultivate the opposite thoughts and feelings like understanding, sympathy, goodwill. I forget who said it, but a great writer said that if you could read the secret history of your worst enemy, if you could read the secret history, the history you don't know, of your worst enemy, you'd find enough compassion in your heart to disarm all hostility. But because we don't know, we keep feeling, how can she do that? How can she do that? But if we give up our negative thinking and we sit quietly with ourselves, then sometimes we'll realize, oh, she has this scar from the past. That's why she's behaving like that. Oh, he has this, so he's behaving like that. So when you really understand why the person's behaving like that, what is the person's history that goes into making the person how the person is, you'll obviously feel less agitated towards the person. So MP Pandit says, when you pursue this discipline with sincerity and persistence, it has an occult, hidden, subtle impact on the other person. And one day when you meet the other person, both of you smile spontaneously and the conflict is resolved. But don't expect immediate results. It may not happen the very next day, or sometimes it may not happen at all. In the spiritual path, you have to put into practice what you feel as true with a tenacious persistence without constantly looking for results. In fact, this eagerness and anxiety for the result prevents the result from coming. You have to do things because you feel it as true and not for getting results. So beautiful. We always do things to get results. But Mother's saying you have to do things because they are your truth. Never mind whether the result is it pleases someone, displeases someone, but it's your truth and you're acting from that truth. When you pursue this discipline with this attitude, even when there is no result, you grow inwardly by the discipline. But the main difficulty here is that it is not easy to accept with an entire sincerity our responsibility for the conflict. Whenever we are agitated by someone, we are always looking for faults in the person. We are convinced that they are wrong. I may be wrong, but I'm not so wrong. She's more wrong. If you didn't feel that, you wouldn't get agitated, right? You somewhere feel wronged, justice hasn't been done to you, you've been treated harshly, you feel it's the person's fault. So mother saying the main difficulty is that it is not easy, MP Pandit is saying that it is not easy to accept with an entire sincerity our responsibility for the conflict, because the immediate and spontaneous response is of our lower nature is to blame the other person for the conflict. This is an unpleasant discovery, very difficult to accept with our whole being. For as the mother said repeatedly, the moment you put the blame on the other person, you shut the doors to light. Let's learn this up like a sutra. The moment you put the blame on the other person, you are closing your doors to light. So whenever you're playing the blame game in your mind, let mother's voice remind you, you're closing your doors to me, you're closing your doors to the light. You can see it by observing yourself. The moment you shift the blame, there is a certain dilution of sincerity in the will and effort, which will say, the fault is with the other person. So whatever wrong feelings I have for him or her are legitimate. Why should I reject them? It may not express itself correctly in this form. Most of it remains as an unexpressed feeling in a little corner of your mind or heart, as a resentful unwillingness to reject the negative feelings and clinging to them. So, mother further says that if you see dirt outside, you have dirt within you. That whatever in a person really agitates you, in the person it may be in a full tree form, but you have it in you as a seed. If you didn't have it in you as a seed, it would not agitate you. So there are these priceless words of Rumi. When I read them, I took them as mother speaking to me. So just for our class today, I invite you to do the same. Think that mother's telling you these words, but they are words of Rumi. I want to hold you close like a lute. A lute is a stringed musical instrument. So I want to hold you close like a lute, so we can carry out with loving. If there's a misprint, not cry out, so we can carry on with loving. You would rather throw stones at a mirror. I am your mirror and here are the stones. So it's like we've already said that every person is mother with a mask, right? So every person is a mirror to me. When I see you with your faults or beauty, I am not seeing you, I'm seeing myself. If I am beautiful, I'll see beauty in you. If I'm feeling ugly and muddy, I'll see mud in you. Because every person is a reflection of myself, is a mirror to me. Do you get that? So it's like mother has become zillion mirrors of all the people I'm interacting with. And from each mirror, she's telling me, I want to carry on loving you, but you would rather throw stones at a mirror. And she's saying, okay, I am your mirror, here are the stones, throw them if you want. But any mother, if she really loves a child and the child has dirt on her face, she'll hold up a mirror, right? So the child will clean the dirt on the face. But if it's an ignorant child and doesn't realize that it's his own reflection he's seeing in the mirror, and he sees a face all soiled and muddy, he'll want to break the mirror, he'll want to throw stones at the mirror. So mother's saying, don't throw stones at the mirror. The purpose of mirroring to you is not so that you attack the mirror. That is ignorance. wipe the mark of your own face. That's why I'm mirroring yourself to you through this difficult person. So let's do a short meditation on this. So shut your eyes and the word Bhadram, the field of eternal good. Let's keep that in the background of our mind, and let's actually bring to our heart the difficult circumstance or the difficult person in our life, and let me know that the conflict with this person is actually creating so much unhappiness in me first. Then maybe I'm making the person unhappy. I want to be free of this unhappiness, and Mother wants me to be free of it. So the first step is, Mother implies that every negative thought I think about the person actually reaches the person in the form of an energy and makes the person feel enmity towards me. So first step is, I must work on my inner space and not blame the person. Mother says that the moment you blame another, you're closing your door to light. The Mother has become all these people who are just mirroring myself back to me. If I have beauty in me, I'll see beauty outside. If I have mud in me, I'll see mud outside. So, Rumi's beautiful words, I want to hold you close like a lute, a musical instrument, but you would rather throw stones at a mirror. I am your mirror and here are the stones. So bring that difficult person into your heart. Contemplate all the scars, all the past history which you don't know. Beautifully said. If you could read the secret history of your worst enemy, you'd find enough compassion in your heart to disarm all hostility. So first just realize that everything is cause and effect. The person is like this because of his past. Secondly, just realize that the Mother is controlling every mind as the Antaryami, the inner controller. She is mirroring through this person some defect in me, some pocket of unconsciousness in me which I need to change. Because if I react, what's within me comes out. If you squeeze lemons, lemon juice comes out. If you squeeze oranges, orange juice comes out. If anger or resentment comes out in me, it's because it's within me. This person is just Mother mirroring to me what's within me so that I can see it and change it. So the first thing is withdraw from the blame game. Take responsibility for your reaction. It's not my job to change the person. My job is to take care of the reaction the person's behavior creates within me. And that is why the person's behavior too is part of the field of Bhadram. Without this person, how would I ever grow? How would I see all the pockets of ignorance within me? So keeping all this in mind, replay your last interaction with the person where you felt wrong and just articulate in your heart space, Bhadram. Many times. Just now we'll just do it 3 times. But at home, when you're practicing to the recording of this meditation, you just articulate Bhadram in your heart several times till you actually see that this unpleasant exchange too is part of the eternal field of good or Bhadram. And then seeing the pocket of unconsciousness in you, offer it to Mother. I've seen it. Thank you for showing it to me. I thank the difficult person too for doing this work for my consciousness. And I put a firm will to transform it in me. And slowly open your eyes. So tell me, what is the most difficult part of this process? What is the most difficult part?
The transition.
Exactly what?
You know where you want to be, you know where you are.
No, that's the process. But as a specific, what's the most difficult part?
Facing that person, talking to that person.
You're not talking to that person, you're doing it in your mind.
Your own difficulty, right?
Huh?
Suppose if you don't like something about a person and you know that that same thing is within you.
Or maybe you don't even see it as the same thing within you. It's not always like that. It could also be that that person's behavior is hitting at some pocket of unconsciousness in you. When you react, you're becoming unconscious. Reaction is always unconscious. Response is conscious. So your reaction is a pocket of unconsciousness. So when you're unconscious, everything in you wants to blame the person because you get solaced out of blaming the person. The most difficult thing is to accept that my job is not to figure out where the person has gone wrong. My job is to handle my unconsciousness, my reactivity, because I won't want to do that. That's the most difficult thing. If I can do that, rest is easy. You need a lot of sincerity to do that, and all of us, so much insincerity which we are not even conscious of. Okay, so further, this is from the 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak. The universe is one being. Everything and everyone is interconnected through an invisible web of stories. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all in a silent conversation. Exactly what I was saying. I'm conversing with the whole universe with my thoughts. I may think I'm thinking it in my head, but I'm thinking this about Varun, but he's not hearing it, so it's fine. But this is reminding us it's not so. Somewhere Varun and I are so one that every thought I think is about him is reaching him as an energy. So I have to be very responsible with what I'm thinking. Everything and everyone is interconnected through an invisible web of stories. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all in silent conversation. Do no harm. Practice compassion. And do not gossip behind anyone's back, not even a seemingly innocent remark. The words that come out of your mouth do not vanish, but are perpetually always stored in infinite space. and they will come back to us in due time. So every energy you put out comes back to you. That's the law of the world. Every negative energy of thought that you put out comes back to you, of speech that you put out comes back to you. Every positive energy you put out in words or thought or speech comes back to you. One man's pain will hurt us. When you cause somebody else's pain, that pain will eventually hurt you because you're interconnected with everything. One man's pain will hurt us all. One man's joy will make everyone smile, because this whole universe is one interconnected fabric. So don't be stingy with making people smile, because their smile will eventually somewhere become your smile also. The universe is one being. Everything and everyone is interconnected through an invisible web of stories. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all in a silent conversation. Do no harm, practice compassion, and do not gossip behind anyone's back. That behind the back would even be in your mind about the person, not even a seemingly innocent remark. The words that come out of your mouth do not vanish, but are perpetually stored in infinite space, and they will come back to us in due time. One man's pain will hurt us all. One man's joy will make everyone smile. So now, if we accept that Sri Aurobindo's words in Savitri, that our outward happenings have their seed within. So if negative happens and I've come to this point where I've stopped blaming the person, that itself will take a lot of grace. But you cannot stop there, because there's a danger. Then you'll go on blaming yourself and think I'm bad, everything's bad because I'm bad, there's no hope for me, which is also pointless, which is also unconsciousness. So if everything is the field of Bhadram, I am also the field of Bhadram, isn't it? And I have to see my shortfalls with a lot of love and compassion, not with fear and aversion. Normally when I see my shortfalls, it fills me with fear. Oh my God, how will I survive? How will I cope? What will people think? So beautifully said that when your fear touches somebody's pain, and that could be your own pain, it becomes pity. But when your love touches somebody's pain, it becomes compassion. So don't touch your own pain with pity. Don't throw a pity party for yourself. Nobody is interested in the poor me syndrome. But touch your pain with love, with self-nurturing, with self-care, without guilt. We are all imperfect. We are all work in progress. So I don't have to put an impossible demand on myself to be perfect. I'm okay. I'm work in progress. But my shortcoming is a stepping stone to a future strength, isn't it? This moment of smallness is just one moment in the infinity that I am. It's not a statement on me. So to love yourself and correct yourself out of that love, instead of out of fear and self-hatred and self-criticism. So that's also very important. So Sri Aurobindo's words from Synthesis of Yoga: the master of our works is neither a blunderer, master of the works, the divine, is neither a blunderer, means somebody who keeps making mistakes, nor an indifferent witness, nor a dallier with the luxury of unneeded evils, nor is he somebody who just likes to play with unnecessary hardships in your life. He is wiser than our reason and wiser than our virtue. So beautiful. Our reason is completely sure, I need to blame her or I need to blame me. But this one is wiser than our reason and wiser than our virtue. Our nature is not only mistaken in will and ignorant in knowledge, but weak in power. but the divine force is there and will lead us if we trust in it. And it will use our deficiencies and our powers for the divine purpose. If we fail in our immediate aim, it is because He has intended the failure. So any weakness in our consciousness is like a failure of consciousness. So somewhere He has intended that failure. Often our failure or ill result is the right road to a truer issue than an immediate and complete success would have put in our reach. So beautiful. Often our failure or ill result is the right road to a truer issue than an immediate and complete success would have put in our reach. So if we suffer, it is because something in us has to be prepared for a rarer possibility of delight. So we can touch our suffering also with love and compassion, because if we suffer, it is because something in us has to be prepared for a rarer possibility of delight. If we stumble, it is to learn in the end the secret of a more perfect walking. A child keeps stumbling, right, and falling in order to learn how to walk. So spiritually in consciousness, we'll keep stumbling, but so that we can, in terms of consciousness, finally get up and walk. So beautifully said in Savitri, our least stumblings are foreseen above. Every fall we have, every dip we have, it's part of the greater plan, or the supreme diplomat makes our fall a means for a greater rise. So even if we identify things in us which are shortfalls, which make us feel small, we should recognize that they are stepping stones to future strengths, to future lights, and work with them rather than hating ourselves for having them. If we stumble, it is to learn in the end the secret of a more perfect walking. Let us not be in too furious a haste to require even peace, purity and perfection. Yeah? So be patient with yourself. You know, the lovers of God never run out of patience. The patience is not just about wanting circumstances or people around us to change. The patience is also in accepting that my human nature will take time to change. And I don't have to write off the caterpillars I see in myself, because those caterpillars will also change to butterflies someday. So now the last passage, a passage from Savitri. But Narad answered, covering truth with truth. Narad is talking to Savitri's father Ashvapati. O Ashvapati, random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run, in casual hours or moments of the gods, yet your least stumblings are foreseen above. So what he's telling Ashvapati is true for us also. Sometimes the way life is going, it seems so random, so pointless. Random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run, in casual hours or moments of the gods, yet your least stumblings are foreseen above. Infallibly, perfectly, the curves of life are drawn. Infallibly, the curves of life are drawn, following the stream of time through the unknown. They are led by a clue the calm immortals keep. So the calm immortals have kept the plot in their hand. It's in their control, but to you it seems scattered and chaotic and random. This too the supreme diplomat can use. He makes our fall a means for greater rise. For into an ignorant nature's gusty field, into the half-ordered chaos of mortal life, the formless power, the self of eternal light, follow in the shadow of the Spirit's descent. the twin duality, Ishwar, Ishwari, Purusha, Shakti, that's the twin Purusha Prakriti, Shiva Shakti, that's the twin duality, forever one, chooses his home with the tumults of the sense. So we stop here. Any questions? If not, we can conclude with 3 ohms. Mm.